I'm Ray Brown. To celebrate Pride this June, I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to give you a time capsule of special songs and stories from my life.
Hello, everybody. This is Joyce Tang here on 88 Rising Radio, and we are in the presence of a very special guest. We have Ray Brown in the Sirius XM studios. Ray, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
That's amazing. That's what we want to hear. So, Ray is here with us with 88 Rising Radio to celebrate Pride and to share a time capsule with us filled with special songs, stories, and words of inspiration from his life. So, we'd love to know, Ray, what type of music filled your childhood?
Definitely a big range. Like I was thinking back, because I remember I would go on drives with my dad a lot, and he would play like anything from Green Day to Fatboy Slim. But then my sister was like putting me on to there's this 90s group called New Radicals. But also at the time I really liked Lenny Kravitz, and when I got my first computer, she helped me download Fly Away by Lenny Kravitz. So that was like my first MP3. And then my mom grew up playing in a rock band, so she put me onto a lot of like classic rock music. Yeah, so it's kind of like a broad spectrum of music.
That's awesome. It sounds like you got to be exposed to so much different music at such an early age in your life. So I'm curious to also know what types of communities and cultures did you grow up with?
Yeah, so I grew up in Japan. Yeah, I guess that's a tough question. So I started out at like a Japanese kindergarten, and eventually went to an international school. So I guess it was kind of like a melting pot. And it was definitely nice to be surrounded by other mixed race people or other like half Japanese kids. Yeah, just prior to that, experiencing like xenophobia or feeling like I didn't look like the other Japanese kids at my school. Yeah, but so at the international school, it was kids from all over, and that was like a very nice experience to get exposed to like also music from everywhere, food from everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure growing up in Japan is such a special and unique experience. What have you noticed are the differences with the communities and cultures in Japan compared to the US living in New York?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably tough because, like I was there until I was 18, and I'm sure things have changed. I feel like queerness wasn't talked about a lot back then, or like if it was, like the type of people that were like visibly queer were a lot of like people in drag, and they were always like the butt of the jokes or the comic relief. So there wasn't a lot of like queer visibility. And then also just like Japan being very homogenous, there's just like a lot of xenophobia, and like I feel like the way people perceived like foreigners, immigrant workers wasn't great. But I feel like that's starting to change. Like even in a lot of like movies or TV shows, I'm seeing like more immigrant people being portrayed in positive ways too, and like they're even like addressing it in nuanced ways. So I think there's progress for sure. But I think moving to New York was just like, I feel like New York is like so progressive, such a, like it kind of feels like everyone in the world wants to be there or is there. And there's just like a constant exchange of ideas and thoughts. And yeah, it's amazing to be there and to just like learn and feed off of people all the time.
So, growing up, who are some LGBTQ figures that you looked up to that inspired you?
So I saw this question earlier, and it actually kind of made me sad because like I was looking back and I was kind of like realizing, oh, like there weren't a ton of like queer people to look up to. I mean, definitely, I was remembering like I was always a huge Queen fan, so Freddie Mercury was definitely like a big one. But yeah, I just realized like when I realized I was queer, I went through this whole phase of like wanting to just consume queer films and TV shows. And, like there was Brokeback Mountain, but after that, I just like had to dig and like I was torrenting all these like really random indie queer films. And it was just like really hard to, yeah, get access to queer media. And, a lot of queer musicians were closeted or like even still closeted. So, yeah, not a lot of icons back then, but yeah.
Well, you are definitely one yourself. So many people look up to you, you're inspiring them. What were moments in your childhood that inspired you?
This one's gonna be cheesy, but one of like the first moments that I feel like pushed me harder into music was when the School of Rock movie came out.
That is legitimately my favorite movie. No joke.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. It just like unlocked something, and it's kind of funny. There's a scene where Jack Black has the chalkboard and he's writing down all these like he's actually like breaking down different subgenres of rock music and like writing down all these bands. And I remember I like paused the TV and I like wrote them all down. And then I like on LimeWire I was like trying to like yeah research all the different bands. And I think that was like also one of the first times of like taking ownership of like my musical taste and like exploring these new bands that I like knew nothing about and deciding like, oh, do I like this or not, as opposed to just like listening to whatever my family was listening to.
Okay, that's awesome. And it's really interesting that you draw a lot of inspiration from rock music because a lot of the music that you make is more like R&B, lo-fi. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I'll come back to the rock stuff because it's definitely coming back in the Xeno album. But yeah, I guess it was just like influence from my mom, and then my dad listened to like folk music and rock as well. So I think that was just like by proximity what I was listening to a lot. And then yeah, even in high school, it was like still listening to a lot of folk singers, singer-songwriters, and a lot of what I was making was just like guitar and singing kind of music. And then I made this joke about when I was leaving Japan and going to go to Berklee College of Music. I was like, it'd be so funny if like in a couple of years I'm making weird electronic music. But that's kind of exactly what happened. As I was, I think like the summer before Berkeley, like I bought the James Blake EP, I bought Channel Orange, and I bought like a Radiohead EP too. And then that kind of primed me. And then I was like, all my roommates and everyone I met was just like showing me amazing, like Flying Lotus, Shlomo, all this crazy music. And I was just like so quick to just embrace it all, consume it all, and just not want to just make like acoustic guitar singer songwriter music anymore. So yeah, and then I guess I was very much into making like the vibey, like beat making kind of music, but and maybe I was trying to like distance myself from like guitar for a while, and it felt a little like repetitive and just like the way I thought about how I was writing songs on a guitar for so long. But yeah, with Xeno, I feel like it's like coming full circle. There's a lot of like new metal influence, a lot of like punk and like distorted guitars on it. So I'm just like so excited to be like bringing it back in a way that like feels really organic and natural and exciting.
We are so excited for Zeno, and we have more questions about Zeno from our fans that we're going to ask you later on. And you mentioned going to Berklee College of Music. At what point in your life did you know that you wanted to go to school for music, that you wanted to commit and pursue this career in music? Because it's scary, it's daunting to pursue something in the creative field. What gave you the inspiration or confidence to commit to that?
So specifically the whole Berkeley pipeline, there were two other people at my high school that went to Berkeley, and kind of just like growing up, I looked up to them, and I feel like when they went to Berkeley, there was like a big like the whole school was like so proud of them going to Berkeley. So I think that kind of solidified it in my mind as like, oh, if I want to do music too, I gotta like follow in their footsteps. Um, and as far as just like confidence or like wanting to pursue doing anything in general, I think I'm just like a very intense thing. Like even when it was just like a hobby that I was picking up, I always just like go 100%, 200% in it and just it takes over my life. So I think when it was music, it was just like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. And then when it came time to like thinking about colleges and whatnot, I was just like, sure, I'm gonna go to music school.
That's so awesome that you had these classmates, these colleagues that you looked up to that inspired you to follow that path going down music. I think it's hard to have those figures show us that it is possible.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you have to budding talent, to someone who wants to pursue music?
Actually, before I answer that, I just wanted to circle back. One of also the biggest reasons that I've always felt like so safe and secure to pursue anything creative is my mom. She's a painter and an artist herself, but she didn't get to go to art school. Um, and so I feel like the second she saw me take interest in anything, she was like so ready to just support me 100%. Yeah, just like sending me to any like guitar lessons or buying me a guitar. Yeah, so I think she also just made it feel like so natural and like a viable route. Yeah.
Shout out, mom.
Yeah.
We love moms. Moms rule the world.
Yes, they do. But yeah, going back to your question, what was it? Advice for budding talent. I always feel weird about questions about advice because it's like I feel like it's so subjective.
Of course.
And it's also like I can't help but think about it in the context of like capitalism of like how like advice that will help them make money, right? Versus like just because I think when I think about my path and with art, like I don't really think about money, and I don't think other people should either. I think you should just do something because it comes naturally or it like makes you happy and sometimes that works out. I think that when you're doing something with your whole heart, it attracts other people who are passionate and yeah, I think you like put good energy out and you get it back too.
Definitely. Were there moments in your career where you had moments of self doubt, where you weren't sure, you were questioning whether this was the path for you, if you wanted to go down it?
Yeah, I mean, probably every day, or once a week. I feel like that happens. But I don't think it's ever that like I doubt if I should be doing music. It's more just like at what capacity should I be doing this? And it's kind of like I feel like I always have the or it's always helpful to remind myself that like at the end of the day, like I'm 100% in control. Obviously, like there are consequences to choices we make, but like if I just wanted to like bounce and just like stop putting out music, like I could do that. If I wanted to just scale back and just be putting stuff out on SoundCloud low key, I could do that. There's always like options, and if anything ever feels like too much, yeah, I can always like take a step back and take a breather.
Sounds like you have a really good perspective on how you create and how you approach everything that you're doing with music. So I'm curious to know what inspires you, what motivates you to keep creating.
I feel like everything inspires me. I'm kind of like I'm very intense about just like scrapbooking or like mood boarding, like growing up with Tumblr and everything. I'm just always like downloading images and just tagging them in like a app that I have. But yeah, I just feel like it's like an external way of how your thoughts are kind of organized, and it helps you start to draw the lines of how things are connected, or how like this outfit that I saw and this building that I saw and this song or music video that I saw are kind of like giving the same vibe. So I feel like that's really important to me, of just like cataloging ideas and enough to where I start to see patterns. But also movies are probably like the biggest inspiration for me. I just like grew up watching so many movies, and even with like music, I feel like every song feels like a movie to me. And then obviously like there's music videos too, but just yeah, I think watching movies, hearing the soundtracks, the cinematography, it's always just like yeah, very inspiring to me.
So when you're creating anything like a song, do you usually have a vision for the music video, for the outfit you're going to wear in the music video? How does it all come together? Do you put together an outfit and then decide, wow, I have the perfect song to create to match this outfit? How does it all work?
I mean, I think the way the creative process for me works is like there's always like this seed of a sound, and it kind of is sprouting out of that. So it's like whether it's like a voice memo, like a small melodic idea or a chord progression, and then you kind of like build layers over that. But I think as that's progressing, the like visual idea, or like this movie almost in my head, starts to become more clear and clear. And then yeah, like pictures that I've been collecting, I'm like, oh yeah, like that really is representative of like where this song lives in my head. Yeah, kind of like that.
That's so fascinating. It's always so interesting to hear every artist's different process with how they create, what inspires them. And for Pride, a big part of it is love, it's self love. So, how do you show yourself love? What is the best gift that you've given yourself?
I think, I mean, I'm honestly not good at this, but I think just giving myself a break and not being so hard on myself, and yeah, like just learning to like forgive yourself and live with your like shortcomings, but also just like not being so hard on myself, because I'm very self-critical. But also I would say just like in like a tangible gift, I feel like therapy is like such a great gift to yourself. Yeah.
Amen. Invest in therapy, everyone. You heard it from Ray Brown.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. So, what do you think artists and creators should prioritize?
Mental health.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's just like so common to see. I mean, and this isn't just like exclusively for like musicians or artists, but like you just see people getting burnt out, or people just like starting to hate their careers. And it's, yeah, you just kind of wonder like at what cost are you like on your path? And especially I think when people are making like art their career, I think it's just like such a shame that they go down a path to the point where they like start to resent the very thing, like yeah, the very thing that they love. So I think I'm very protective of that. Like I don't ever want to hate making music. So yeah, just prioritize mental health and like your boundaries. And yeah, I think we just also kind of live in like a sick world. Like everything's moving so fast. People just want like so much from everyone online, and like we're unhealthily like just too connected. And it's great sometimes, you know, when you're just like scrolling on TikTok and consuming a ton of content. But yeah, I think everyone needs boundaries, and I think also everyone just not needs to know like that they can give themselves permission to like just not do things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And I think bringing up there's this grab where everyone is always asking for more, more, more. And I think nowadays like people are churning out like albums and EPs like once every 6 months, and it's so wild, but things do move so quickly. How do you keep up with it? How do you draw the lines? How do you draw the boundaries between, when you think something is ready to go out, creating for yourself versus creating for your fans and listeners and what they want?
I mean, I think I'm just my own bottleneck in that like the music gets done when it gets done, and I'm not gonna force something to be finished in 6 months, and I think I'm just not physically capable of like forcing myself to like work within those constraints, or at least being proud of it too, because I'm sure I could churn out something if someone just like gave me a deadline, but unless I'm like genuinely like proud and feel good about it, I would never put it out. So I think that's just like always the bottleneck and the yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like I can always kind of hear it and tell when an artist puts out an album. They have the lead singles, the debut singles that are so strong and they sound so good. And then when the whole album comes out, you can kind of tell, like, oh, they just slapped it all together. It's not so strong cohesively.
Hmm.
But I feel like there's also this conversation now, like, artists are like simply releasing like singles versus albums. Where do you think that is going in music? Do you think people are still consuming full albums? Like, is that how artists are still putting out music?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I think the way I consume music is just like whatever is on, Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube. And it's rarely that I'm like keeping track about like projects and stuff. So I do think like the whole like just rolling out singles model is completely viable, and it like gives you an excuse to like have a moment for each single. And to be fair, like this is my first album, so I don't even know if it's gonna work. Maybe I'll have wished I could have rolled out each song as a single, but I think for me it wasn't like a strategic like I've done singles, now I need to put out an album. It just like made sense with the material that I had created, and they all felt cohesive and they felt within this like universe. And I think my management kind of planted the seed of like, oh, like why don't you try making an album? And I think prior to that, I'd never like made pieces or songs and like thought about like, oh, how do they connect with each other? Like, do they feel like thematically or even like visually they exist in the same universe? And I feel like Xeno very much there's like a lot of world building in it. I keep saying it kind of feels like a season of Black Mirror where they're all in this like weird, unique sci-fi universe, but like every episode is like stylistically slightly different, or like different brands of sci-fi, or different things, or different characters, but it's all part of the same season.
Okay, awesome. Now, I am a big fan and believer of rolling out full albums. I think, a full project, there is, right, so much intention that goes behind, the order of the songs, how one song flows into the other. It is meant to be listened to all the way through, and how, like you said, having a thematic thread going through all the songs is so important and powerful that we really don't get, with singles. And you're talking about your new album, Xeno. You mentioned that the title comes from being a foreigner, a stranger, an alien, and then you take that theme further, going down a more sci-fi route. Can you talk more about the upcoming album?
Yeah, I feel like there was a big shift with my creative process and songwriting. I think it was the first song on the album called Xeno, and then another song, but it was just where I was like getting bored with writing like the same old sad love song kind of thing. And I was just like, yeah, I was like bored, and I needed to make it fun for myself. I needed to find ways to make it interesting. So a lot of it was like, oh, like I love sci-fi. Like why can't there be sci-fi in my songs? And I think I also just was like maturing and had processed more things in my life where I was just like ready to write more autobiographically. So yeah, I think like Xeno is like the perfect like way to start the album, but that was also like the perfect way for me to start writing the album in that like I'm opening up about things I've never talked about before and ambitiously kind of like starting to build this world. So then like every song after that it was like it needs to be up to that par. Yeah.
We're so excited for the release of the album, and I think it's amazing that you're trying different directions, new sounds, talking about new topics. I think it's always really important for artists to try something new, to challenge themselves, and to give listeners a new side of themselves. We are so stoked for that. And now we have some questions from fans that we would like you to answer. So tell us about working and touring with Joji and Keshi.
Yeah, so I think I'm just like really lucky. Both Joji and Keshi are friends of mine, and working and touring with both of them has just been just like so natural and organic, and it's really just like hanging out with friends, completely different than when like a session gets set up for me. And I honestly like I'm so spoiled, like I don't know what touring with a non-friend is like. Yeah, so yeah, it's just an amazing experience to be able to have friends in the music industry that there's mutual respect and just putting each other on all the time.
During the tour, were you making a lot of music with each other or making music on your own?
No, I think just, yeah, touring is so busy. I
Right.
think there's a lot of, I don't know if like things have changed because there's definitely like movies where I feel like I saw a lot of touring people making music, but I don't know how people do it because you're just so exhausted all the time. You're
Exactly.
just
I
like,
can't even imagine.
yeah,
Just on the road all the time and then performing your heart out each night. You have no energy left. You gotta rest.
yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
So, which of your songs is your personal favorite? I know this is a tricky one. I didn't ask it, but it's
Um,
like choosing a favorite child.
I will pick a non-Xeno one because I did see someone ask like a favorite Xeno song. So my favorite song is a song called "Let Go," and it was on one of the Lovers EP that I put out a while ago. And I think it's just like such a perfect ballad, and I like didn't even think I could have pulled that off, especially at the time with just like my limited production and writing skills, but it just felt like it all came together so perfectly. I feel like every song feels I've talked about this with a lot of people, like every song feels like a Rubik's cube and you're like trying to get it perfect, and a lot of times the songs are like abandoned, like you don't have the perfect Rubik's cube, but you put it out because it's like it's good enough. But I feel like Let Go was like pretty much a perfect Rubik's cube. Yeah.
Wow. Perfect. What was your favorite color or design to dye your hair?
I've done a ton of colors, but pink is just, yeah, I just keep coming back to it. I feel like I look good in pink, and
It's
yeah.
your current color. I can tell you now. I love it. It looks so good.
Thank you.
Someone asks, honest question. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I think honestly, if you asked me this an hour ago, I would have said tired, but this whole interview has woken me up. I'm feeling great. Yeah, vibes are great.
Hell yeah. Energizing you without the caffeine.
Hmm.
What's the place you feel most connected to?
I'm gonna say, I mean, I would definitely say like Japan as overall, but I'm feeling like to get specific, I really miss just like being able to stroll into like a convenience store, like a Family Mart or a Lawson's, like late at night and just like getting good food or like a drink and just being able to like eat it out on a bench right outside the convenience store.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, it's something you can't get here. Which concert so far in the Heaven Hell tour did you like the most?
Yeah, so I have two cities I want to shout out. Fort Lauderdale and Montreal were just they exceeded all expectations. The crowd was absolutely amazing.
Wow. Can you talk about that more? Like how do different cities make different impressions on you?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's like the demographic is different. Obviously, like I don't know what like the age ranges were or just like who showed up to like which shows, but I just feel like yeah, Fort Lauderdale felt like really wild and they were just like so vocal and like really supportive and I feel like every time I smiled, they like started to scream and I was like, "Oh wow." I just felt like so loved and that actually honestly was like it was early on in the tour and I was just like, "Wow, like this is why you have to tour and play live shows because like there's like a connection with
The synergy with you
yeah
and the crowd.
yeah
Oh, that's amazing to hear. What's your favorite song you've made in the upcoming Xeno album?
so honestly yeah this probably changes every day but I think right now White Honda is one of my favorites and it's coming out also very soon so it's just like on my mind but again it's kind of like a same as the Let Go song I was talking about like I never would have imagined I would have been able to make a song like this, and it would have not have been possible without Lex Stacy, who's featuring on it, and we co-produced it. But just it's almost like we would talk about things like half jokingly about like oh yeah like 90s video game music or new metal like just in the periphery but it all just like seeped in like in the perfect ways. And I was just like, I mean, like I mentioned that as a joke because like there's no way I could have imagined it like being incorporated like in a good way, but like it all like was incorporated amazingly. And it also kind of feels like that perfect Rubik's Cube. Yeah.
Wow, that's so fun. It's true. There's truly no limits when creating music.
Yeah.
How much has your approach to music evolved since the Ray Baboon EP?
I mean, I think the biggest thing that has changed is that I'm able to collaborate and work with other artists, producers, songwriters. And I think, you know, I know my limits and it's just amazing to feed off of other people who are just like equally or like even more talented than I am and that they can bring amazing things to the table and we just like feed off of each other. Like I'm saying, like with the White Hana with like Lex Stacy, like you talk about something as a joke and then next thing you know, like it's literally in the song and yeah, that's been amazing.
What are your future goals you hope to achieve?
I talk about this a lot, but I would love to score to do film score just because I love movies. I love, and a lot of my favorite movies, it's because the sound or the soundtrack is just like so on point. And also, like, one of my biggest heroes is Ryuichi Sakamoto, but he's also an amazing film composer, or just, I mean, he's done everything. And so I think I really respect that and hope to be able to, you know, accomplish like a fraction of what he has. I'm Ray Brown. To celebrate Pride this June, I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to give you a time capsule of special songs and stories from my life. The first song, I just picked one of my own songs. It's Could I Be Somebody? It was the first single for Xeno that I rolled out, and it just felt appropriate too with Pride. So Could I Be Somebody is about, it's kind of like my queer awakening story. And there was this whole idea when I was writing it about thinking about dimensions and how having closeted relationships, honestly, like it was a lot of like navigating like two different realities of like being in school and being perceived as straight and then having these closeted relationships in like this completely different universe almost. So yeah, you were kind of always passing between these realities or these planes, yeah, these planes of reality. And so I thought that was like such a cool and beautiful way to talk about it. I was almost like surprised, like how has someone not done this before, or maybe they have, but that's what the song's about. And I was kind of I've been talking about this a lot, but I was just like so excited I could pull that off lyrically, and yeah, I was just so proud of it. This is Ray Brown, and you're listening to my time capsule here on 88 Rising Radio. It's kind of thematically connected to Could I Be Somebody, because this is how I found the director who directed it. But Bruise Boy by Gene Dawson, amazing song and amazing music video as well. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, we had to talk about the song because the song is just like insane, and Gene Dawson is an insane artist and huge inspiration. And then I saw the music video was directed by Zach Bailey, so I hit him up and we were just like in contact for a bit, but he ended up directing Could I Be Somebody, and that was just like an amazing experience, and he helped bring to life that like idea of like the navigating the planes of reality and like queerness and stuff. This is Ray Brown, and I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to celebrate Pride and share my time capsule with you. So, third song I did, a song that people wouldn't expect me to listen to. It's Queen of This Shit by Quay Dash. Just a really, yeah, it's just an amazing song. I think people just probably wouldn't assume I listen to a lot of like club music or dance music. But no, yeah, Quay Dash is absolutely amazing. It always makes me want to move or dance. I'm Ray Brown. To celebrate Pride this June, I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to give you a time capsule of special songs and stories from my life. Next song, I mean, I had to include this Glimpse of Us by Joji. Just such a beautiful song, beautiful video. I have to shout out Dan Straight, who directed it. Absolutely amazing. I've always been a fan of his work too. So I feel like that was just like an incredible marriage of like visual and sound, and yeah, honestly, probably number one music video like I've ever seen. I'm Ray Brown. To celebrate Pride this June, I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to give you a time capsule of special songs and stories from my life. My recent obsession is Peace Sounds by James Ivy. Kind of similar to Gene Dawson, that like I just think he's like an amazing artist, huge inspiration, and I just like hope the best for him. I feel like he's like popping off right now. He was like opening for Porter Robinson's tour, and he seems like a insane performer too. So I'm just like so excited for what he has in store. This is Ray Brown, and I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to celebrate Pride and share my time capsule with you. Next one, this is just like a throwback, nostalgic song. It's Grateful Days by Dragon Ash. It's just like a song I grew up listening to in Japan, and really just like, it's like such a feel-good song. I feel like it's just like the second I hear it, it brings me back to Japan, and I feel like I'm young again and like a kid. This is Ray Brown, and you're listening to my time capsule here on 88 Rising Radio. The last song I shazammed is Into You feat. Tamia by Fabulous. Such a great, I think it's like 90s or early 2000s bop, but it's like I'm so sad I did not know this song growing up, and I'm kind of like just making up for that now by like, yeah, listening to it on repeat. I'm Ray Brown. To celebrate Pride this June, I'm taking over 88 Rising Radio to give you a time capsule of special songs and stories from my life. An underrated song and artist is Transparent by Uri. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation. She's from Montreal, and I've actually met her a couple times, but yeah, I feel like she's like an amazing producer, and yeah, also very excited for everything that she's has in store.